ladies, friends, everyone else who's watching, thank you for being here. Ooh, Sashimi's here and testing out the new Discord Nightbot features and Twitch features that we've implemented this past week, so thank you for that. Thank you guys for joining me. I really genuinely appreciate it, and I can see we've got a few people in chat, so I can see Anarchy, Martin Watt, Neo Jonathan, good evening, George69 as well, Antronics as well. Good evening, folks. It is a pleasure to see you again this week. And this week we will be building my prototype board, the J-01, finally. Sashimi says he wants to make sure the Nightbot boy was here for his first stream, so there we go. And Mr. Evil Genius himself, good evening, good sir, says J-01 hype. Yes, finally. And you can't see it as well, but also t-shirt hype. Holly Panda t-shirt came finally as well. That's been taking a while for shipping. So yeah, I hope you guys can hear me okay. I have had to tweak some settings, so I hope it's loud and clear. So let me know if I need to adjust the volumes. We will get into the build in a little bit, but I will be using J-01 inks for this. The popular demand off the vote on Top Clack the other day was J-01 inks in the carbon fibre plate, so I'm dead interested to see how that sounds once we've completed the build later on. We'll be using the standard GMK screw and stabs because personal preference, and I think they're my favourite on the market at the minute. And I have done a test fit of the board, but we'll take it apart and I'll show you guys how it all works, how it puts together, what the theory behind how I've implemented the isolation mount gaskets in this board is, and we'll then build it and see if it actually works. So yeah. Egler as well, good evening Egler, good to see you. When we getting more international kit stuff? We need more podcasts. Come on, get on it, dude. Get on it. It's been long enough now. It's been long enough. Let me just see if the Discord bot has pinged as yet. No, not yet. Okay, so we'll wait for the bot to ping before we start doing the build, taking it apart, showing you guys how it works and all of that kind of stuff. George says, can you buy J-01 inks? Yeah, so they did sell out on Novel Keys, which is where I got mine from. MyKeyboard.eu is going to have some soon if you're in the EU, and Mike is going to have some more on Novel Keys as well in the near future. So once they're back in stock, I'm sure people will let you know, but do watch out and keep an eye on his store. Yeah, Sashimi says they should be up on the US store soon. And we've got Rope as well. Good evening, sir. Nice to see you again. Okay. So as I say, I'm really interested to build this. The J-01 inks, which I'm sure you've seen before, these are kind of like a smoky housing switch. Might be clear if I show it in this one, if that's going to focus. There we go. Which looks really, really nice. These have been lubed with Crytox 205 Grade 0 from switchmod.net or Krellbit's store. Dixie says he's got the stream on while he's packing order. Oh, good to see you, dude. Good to see you. I probably buy from my keyboard because I live in the EU, or in the UK. I'm in the UK as well. I'm just up north in the UK, a town called Halifax, or just outside it anyway. So yeah, the village I actually live in is called Shelf, which is a bizarre name. But yes, I live just outside. Oh, and Chris Swires with the resub. Thank you, Chris. Thank you very much, as always. It's good to see it. We've got Mr. Petrov as well. Tracer's back in the chat. Soran, the X-Ac. And good evening to all of you, and Chris as well with the 2 bits as well. Thank you very much, Chris. I appreciate those. Is that because I'm a 2-bit whore or something? Is that what you're trying to infer there? But thank you. So yeah, as I say, we will be using the J-01 inks. I've actually just got some spare ones off of ISO Returns, who's one of the members of the Top Clack server, which has helped me because I promised I'd send some to Chris. So Chris Wise will have some inks in the near future. I think I'm sending you just shy of 50 if I remember rightly, Chris. So you should have those in the next couple of days, but I'm interested to see what you think about it because you're more of a linear fan than I am. So as I say, this is the J-01. I'll talk a little bit about the board now, and I'll go into some detail about how it works once the build is underway. But effectively, it's an extended 65% board, so you've got a standard 65% from here to here. However, it is exploded in the same sort of manner as a CA66. In fact, it's roughly the same dimensions. Mirrored across from there on the other side, we have an 8-key macro pad, effectively. So, in fact, I'm just going to turn my TV down because that's a little bit loud for me. There we go. So we've got an 8-key macro pad that's going to go under here. As you can see, there is the red gasket lining in here as well. I'll talk about that later on and how I'm going to change that for the actual 10-spot group buy. The PCB that you can see underneath, this blue one, this was produced by Martin. He actually designed and made these PCBs for me in line with the help I got from Teslatron in designing the actual board itself. And as you can see, the board is kind of mirrored because we've got the same thickness blocker here as we do have on the other side. In addition to that, we do have a pen rail, which is removable and is held in place by magnets. So this is a solid brass bar. There we go. Which is held in place by magnets. This is all prototype parts, so if you see any marks or anything, they will be gone on any production run. And as you'll hear in a second, that just locks into place with the magnet mount there as well. In terms of the actual side profile and the back profile of this board, you see the board's freezing cold because it's been in the house all day while I've been out. You'll see that there is a mid band of brass that runs all the way through the middle of the board. It's kind of seam all the way through. The board's not put together here because there's only 2 screws holding it in. I'll show you that fits together properly later on. And it runs all the way through the centre of the board. There we go. And it also acts as a weight, so there is no weight on the bottom, but we'll come back to that in a second. If I just remove this again, you can see that the actual brass insert actually runs all underneath this header piece, so underneath this forehead on the board. The brass bar runs all the way along this edge underneath, and that there acts as the weight. So it's about just over ½ centimetre thick. I think it's 7mm thick, and that acts as the weight. And then if I turn it over, again, you have to excuse the condensation on the base, but then the base is just standard screw mounts. Get rid of that. They are all fingerprints. It will come clean. We'll dry off all that. There's nothing wrong with the anodization. And then the nice J logo, which is kind of my logo on the base as well. The board is really heavy. It's just shy of 7 kilograms, and you'll see why when we take it apart and we have a look inside. Because it's really heavy, it's really full of brass, and yeah, I'm excited to build it and see what it looks like. Let's just catch up with chat because I'm pretty confident I've missed out on a lot of talk while I've been talking about it there. So we've also got Elmo Space in chat as well. Hello, it's DNL, and a few others as well. So hi guys, thank you very much for watching. It looks really interesting. Wow, yeah, I'll show you the insides because the insides are really cool. The design's kind of a little bit different to how anyone else has done isolation gasket mount boards before, and I'll talk a little bit about the theory behind what I wanted to achieve as well. Nightbot says, today Jay's building the J-01, my own personal prototype board with Gator and ink switches. There you go. So thank you for Sashimi for updating that because I forgot to do that before the show. Yes, it is kind of like a built-in ocelot. You can just see my ocelot just here, actually, in the back corner. What I'll do is I'll transpose the settings I have on the ocelot onto that macro pod when I get around to it as well. Nightbot's been a bit rude. Sorry, I hope Sashimi can fix that. LBI Bass says it is happening. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry, LBI Bass. Sashimi will fix it, I'm sure. Tracy says, damn, talk about an endgame board. Well, this is my design. I've got a ton of other boards as well, but this is one that's kind of my preferred layout. It was kind of designed with my wants for sound incorporated into it, and we'll talk about how we get to that as well shortly. And it was also designed to be easy to modify as well. And then from a looks and feel perspective, I wanted the... so I really like the CA66, but I could never get the sound to work for me. That's what the inspiration was originally for the board. The layout on that board was perfect in terms of its expanded 66. So when I say expanded, I mean exploded, really. So all this is kind of like not built into the board. If you look at any other 65%, these keys are moved up and across slightly. You don't have these blockers, and all this is kind of moved over, and it covers this blocker as well. I kind of like it to be a little bit separate. It's somewhere to rest my thumb. It means there's a gap between all these function keys, and I know when I'm pressing them. That's what I really liked about the CA66. And I also really liked the addition of a pen rail, but it was never tall enough for me to be able to put my pens on it. So I'll show you my usual pen. I can reach it. So So this is the pen I use all the time. It's a solid brass fountain pen, but it's that wide in diameter that if I nudged the CA66, it would roll down on the off of the pen rail. So I wanted a really steep pen rail that would hold it in place nice and neatly, which this one does. So that's why it's quite high. In terms of the macro pad blockers on the left hand side, I'm an artisan guy as well, and that's why I bought the J-01 Mini and a few other boards, because I like those macro pads. You can see it on the TMO as well, which is just above my shoulder here. That's also got the 4-column macro pad there as well. So I really like that, which is why that's got it on the board too. And then I like brass and I like aluminium, so there's a hell of a lot of brass in it. The middle band is inspired, just here, by the E6V2 and a few other boards, but the actual overall side profile view is heavily inspired by the original TX boards. Those were the kind of inspirations for the design. And I've got a ton of pencil drawings where I went through a number of different iterations on how I wanted that to look. So there we go. So that's where the board came from. That's kind of what I've been thinking about all the time. Again, we'll talk about the gaskets when I get into the board. I'm just going to catch up with chat and see what we're talking about. So Elliot says, J-01 finally. Absolutely, yeah. Guy Flakes says, no, that's a nice board. Yep, Mr. Petrov, 1,000 bits, but I'm not reading that out, but yes. Something passport, whatever, yep, sure. Soren says, at the cost. It wasn't that expensive, I'll be honest. I hope if I run a small 10-spot group buy to keep it around $400. For a prototype, it wasn't much more than that, if I'm honest. I think the biggest single expense was paying for the design help and things that I had through Tez and Martin. But the idea was never to make money, it was to make my perfect layout board, and I'm pretty confident that's what this is. It does need a few tweaks to the design, and I'll show you those when we take the board apart. Nothing from a visual perspective, more a case of just fitment and things like that. But I'll talk you through it as we get through there as well. Is that a pencil forehead? It's a pen rail, yes. So the idea is that you can have a pen rest on there. So yeah, that's the idea behind it. 7 kilograms, oof. It's just under 7 kilograms, but it's just about that. It's really, really heavy, and I mean really heavy. I might have to actually lighten it for the next round, and the reason is the base is just solid block. It weighs exactly the same as my TX 1800 V2, so I think it's 6.89 kilograms, just rounded up to 7. And that's assuming that I've got caps. I've added 300 grams to that for caps and switches and things like that, so that's about right. How much do you weigh? Oh, around 10 J-01s. Yeah, 10 would be like that. As Apocalypse says, it's more like a squared off CA66. Yeah, so it's kind of similar to the CA66 in that it has this expanded 65% layout and it has a pen rail, but the design's very different, and I'll be open, that was part of my inspiration because that layout was perfect for me. I was tempted to add a HHKB blocker in here, but it didn't really fit the design in terms of the rest of the board. And the other thing is I like nice chunky bezels, so that's just one of my things. A-Holland subscribes with Twitch Prime. Thank you very much, my dude. I really appreciate that. That's really nice. It's so long. Yeah, it is really long. It's about the same length as a TKL. So I've got the Vern TKL, which is the only one I have. It's about the same width. But the beauty of this is you have this shifted over to the left much more, so you're not bashing it with the right-hand side. It's just one of those things. Could you run us over what you map to your control pad? Always interested in how people use those. So it depends on whether I'm at home or at work. I have 2 different functions. So for work, it's a lot of stuff for different things. Basically, I have one that opens Jira because I'm lazy, and then I have another one that has a certain phrase that puts into Jira. I won't go through that. But in terms of home usage, I have media keys on here. So play and stop, and then backwards and forwards. So I'll probably put those up here. In terms of the other 4 on my macro pad in the corner, I have different things on there. So one loads a certain suite of applications up on the PC. Another one changes a lot of settings on my PC, puts it into gamer mode and things like that. So there's all sorts of different things. I have different layers on it as well. I can also use it as a numpad if I want to on the Ocelot. This is how I've got it set up right now. And I also have one key as well, which actually just shuts everything down, turns the PC off and puts it to sleep. So I haven't fully decided how I'm going to put that into here yet, in terms of how I'm going to lay it out and stuff like that, but I'll work on that and find out what's best for me. But it's always useful to have them there, and the beauty is that I can have them on function layers and all sorts of other things as well to just add compatibility. I might even add a Discord spam key for Shrug or something like that, because I use that email a lot. How much did the proto cost you out of pocket, says Apocalypse? So design fees, PCBs, I had to order 5 PCBs and have them all hand soldered. That was a couple of $100. In terms of gaskets and things, they were probably around $50 I think shipped. In terms of the actual machinery of the board, it was about $400, and then things like plates and add-on parts and other bits and pieces, probably maybe another $100, something like that. Magnets and stuff, yeah. Jay has a big pen. Yeah, it's a nice big fat pen. I like it. Mechanical head pens. Yeah, I could put the headphones on. I don't know if these are any. You don't know if these are good enough for putting on there. The new Sony, well, the WH-1000X M3. Really good sound cancelling headphones. Now that explains the brass. It's a little bit big for a dildo, and that, oh, the pen does look like a dildo. Yeah, it's nice and smooth and rounded. It'd be perfect for it, but it is, I promise you, it is actually a pen. So there we go. Tesla designed the board correct, LBI says. So I kind of had a ton of ideas and a whole way of implementing it, but I just lack the CAD skills. So Teslatron and I sat down together, and Tez did all of the CAD work for me based off a lot of pencil drawings I did. So I spent a few days just drawing in a notebook, pencil, pen and paper, because I'm old school like that, how I wanted the board to be, what kind of layout I wanted, where the macro key should be, how thick the bezel should be, how I wanted the mounting system to be inside, where I wanted the pen rail and stuff like that. Teslatron turned that into a CAD-enabled design and came up with a few innovations as well. So his idea was to have a breakout board for the USB, which I hadn't thought about, and we'll talk about that in a bit as well when we take the board apart. His idea was to have the pen rail magnet mounted. I was originally going to have it just built into the black case, but he suggested having it as a separate accent piece, so we went with that as well. Martin did all of the PCB design because, again, that's out of my technical capability, and he also helped with some of the plate design as well, so putting in some of the relief cuts that you can see around the board to help with sound. So yeah, it was a combined effort from a few different people to get me to this point. Yeah, Martin did a great job on the PC, and he's calling it out there as well. It is the PCB as well. When we take it apart, you'll have a look and you'll see the PCB is actually sculpted to the shape of the board and on all kinds of stuff. It's really impressive how Martin came up with this. So I'm really, really happy with that. TruthGo24 says, I'm looking to get a new keyboard, 104 key keyboard, but I'd like to be able to keep it under $60 US. Do you have any ideas of a good keyboard for that price range? I let chat answer that one because I'd have to go and have a look at it and look one up for you. But if you want to find out, TruthGod, just ping me afterwards, and I'll give you some recommendations later after the stream. King440 says, what's going on here? Custom keyboard build. So this is a personal custom keyboard build that we're going to build from scratch. We're going to put all the switches in. It's been designed all the way up between myself and a couple of friends. So we're going to build it up and look at that. Melodette says, what pen is that way? Is that, by the way, looks like a fountain pen? It is a fountain pen. It's one that I milled with a friend on a lathe out of a solid piece of brass and turned it into a fountain pen. So there we go. Enjoy is here as well. Hi Jay, hi everyone. Good evening to you. Enjoy. Where's my GMK waves for this keyboard? So please get that sorted. Uzi Death says, where do you get your supplies? All over the place. mykeyboard.eu, KBD fans, Fax for Stabs, who's a UK vendor, sorry, an EU vendor, not a UK vendor, mechboards.co.uk, Dixie Mech in America, and then of course the 4 sponsors that Top Clack has, which is Input Club, Novel Keys, Zeal PC, and Kono.store. So lots of different places for them. UPS $400 for that is actually quite good. Yeah, they've actually offered, so there's some parts in this I'm going to show you later on that they're not happy with, so they've actually offered to replace some of these parts for free as well, so I'll show you those when we go through it as well. $400 for that one was quite good. And we've got Necro Woman X in here as well. Hi, good afternoon, good evening. Just while we've got Necro on here, she is one of the people behind mykeyboard.eu. If you guys haven't checked out their Discord server, they actually have a giveaway running at the moment, which I've entered as well, so being cheeky. So if you want to have a look at their giveaway, I can't remember the name of the board, but Necro, but if you want to post a link to that in the chat, they do have a bit of a giveaway running as well, so please go into that, guys. Have a look. The UK was over 500. Yeah, a lot of prototypes are. It depends on where you get them from, the factories, the quality. A lot of different factors can vary into it. I've been really happy with the factory that did all of this work for me, and I'll use them again. As Apocalypse said, Tez did the design work for my board as well. This has me excited. Yeah, he's great at what he does. He's slow at producing physical stuff, which is why I went and got the prototype myself, because he's just got so much on with Lumina. But in terms of his design work, it is really spot on. His the stuff he's done for me has been fantastic. Anyway, James is here. Jamos, he says, "Oh my lord, the hype is real." Yeah, say good evening to H for me. Martin and Tez are both amazing. Martin's PCBs, man. Martin does nearly all of my PCB work now, and his work is just fantastic. I can't say anything bad about it. Oh, we've got Necromant here as well in chat. Oh, the giveaway's done 25 minutes ago. I thought it would got another day. I'm so sorry. Oh, it's still a giveaway with Salve and keycaps. Oh, nice. Well, there you go. There is still a giveaway. I thought there was a board up for giveaway. I can only assume I didn't win, but thank you very much for that. Okay, so lots of chat going on. The Lumina is going to be really solid, even though we are waiting quite a bit longer than expected. Yes, I've got the 60 and the 65% version coming, and I can't wait to build them on stream. I'm going to try and do them both in the same stream, but we'll see how it is when we get that. Anyway, without much further ado, just to recap then, this is the J-01 finally on stream. We are going to build it today. We're going to build it with some Gateron Ink switches. So these were provided by Mike from Novel Keys just a couple of weeks ago. These have been lubed with 205 grade 0 from Krellbit's store, switchmod.net. I had some stock from that from a little while ago. I don't know if he's got it anymore, but it is still available on the market if you are interested. These have been spring swapped with 78 gram sprit springs, apart from the space bar, which is going to have 100 gram spring in it. So there we go. Oh, and the springs have been lubed with Krytox 106 rather than the thicker grease. Okay, so without any further ado, let's take a look at the internals for the board. So as I say, the pen rail is magnetic, nice and easily removed. The board is only tacked together with 2 screws, so I'll just take these out. Oh. Help if I could grab hold of this one. I'll turn it over in a second. And just another one down here in the corner. I don't think I put any others in. Just checking. Nope. Okay, so let's just get that screw out of the way. If it's going to come out. There it is. Okay, so in terms of the design on the inside, here we go. So this is the base, and we can lift it up. And some of the interesting things about the base that you'll see is it does have through support holes just to hold the board together. I'm going to remove those from the final design. They're not needed and they're surplus to requirements. They're going to go for the final design. We do have a breakout cable for a USB port, so this is on a daughter board. This was Tez's full design, and this area here is to try and encapsulate a bit more sound or offer battery support if we did Bluetooth later on. But again, that's going to go, and depending on how the sound is on the board, the shape of this may change for the actual prototype run. So the PCB for the USB does screw in nice and tightly into the base just there, so that's threaded directly into the base of the aluminium. And the reason why we use it is for a couple of different reasons. One, we can get a really nice tight port like that around the USB. There's no gaps around there that you can see. Hold up to this one here. It's really nice and tight. In fact, that did it a disservice. That made it look like it was less tight than it actually is. I'll take some pictures later on. But the gap that you can see in here, it's all recessed in. Oh, it's all recessed in and milled out. It looks really nice. And the second reason we had it as well is because if we had the cable coming out from here, the cable would come out at the angle of the board. So the cable would actually come out at this angle. Because we've got the daughter board in there, the cable actually comes out flat with the bottom of the board, so it's level with the desk. That's why we do it that way. In terms of the production run, when we do that, we'll heat shrink these and cover them up a little bit so it's not quite so loose. And as I say, we may change the shape of this cutout to support some different sound profiles, and these are going to be removed as well because they're surplus to requirements. Okay, so that's the base. In terms of the next part, which is probably the PCB, we can see we've got a breakout here for the connector. So that's just nice and simple. There's no other USB ports on here, and it does have the J-01 logo. It does have some interesting cutouts, as you can see. These just help with well, partly alignment and also partly to make sure that the PCB isn't touching any of the gaskets or the case. The whole point of this build is to kind of have everything isolated from the brass and the aluminium in the case. So that's why we're doing it this way. Other than that, it's a standard PCB, fully QMK compatible. So it's nice and easy to program. We'll have a look at that later on. And then standard shape and facing for switches. No out support, but just standard PCB mount switch support. Does support LEDs as well, but unlikely to use them. And we've got a breakout if we ever wanted to do something with I don't know, polycarb in the middle of the case instead of brass, and wanted to have an underglow as well. Although there's no underglow pads on here as yet. So that's a PCB. Nice bit of kit. Okay. Itchy nose. Let's take a break for a minute before we go into any more, and I'm going to read through some of these points you've been putting. Okay, so Mr. Petrov says, I'm finding it really hard to type one-handed. Keep both eyes on the road, sir. Both eyes on the road. So Shimi says, yeah, the menu has been giving them a lot of trouble for Zerk Apocalypse. Yeah, Tez's menu is holding things up. It's just a bit slow. There's a lot of work to do, though. There's a ton of boards there. I am me, UIU says, just jumped in. That looks pretty sweet. Can't wait to see it from above. You will see it right at the end of the stream, so when we finish the build. LBI says, fantastic. I think a more hollow board would work very well with ALP switches. Potentially, yeah, and we'll have a look at the design and stuff later on. And you can just see here on here all my fingerprints because I've been manhandling this brass and it's completely uncoated. So, yeah, don't worry about that. It's just I want it to gain patina, so I've been manhandling it on purpose. JKO says, hey-o, good evening, good sir. Really considering putting a hold on my copper project to get this. I'm only going to do 10, James. I don't have everyone signed up for it or anything yet, so nothing like that, but I just want to do a round 2 version of this that's got some changes to it, but very minimal changes. JKO says that's kind of cool. It's really cool. I've been really looking forward to this. Go Blue Bro says, hi Jay, does the new Top Clack novel keys code work for group buys? Is it frowned upon to just use it with group buys? It's there for you to use, man. You use it how you want to use it. It's there's no kickbacks on novel keys to us or anything like that. It's just a discount code. So you go ahead and use it as you see fit. I am me, UIU says, are you going to do an Alps PCB? I have no preference to do an Alps PCB at the minute. I'm just going to run, so when we talk about PCBs and plates, so you can see that this particular PCB is fixed ISO. It's not got any ANSI layouts. It's not got any alternate bottom rows or anything like that. The 10-spot group buy will offer ANSI, ISO, and 1 alternate bottom row, and it'll also offer split backspace or full backspace, and that's it. Oh, stepped and normal non-stepped caps lock. That's it. There'll be no other compatibility. It'll just be those options, and then anyone who does join will get a choice of either an ANSI or an ISO plate, or both if they want both. Let's just catch up. When is the group buy planned? It isn't really planned. I want to build the proto first, see how it goes. If I do a group buy, it's just going to be a 10-spot round 2 prototype. So this is revision 1. There'll be a revision 2 with some changes, removing of these posts, for example, and some other bits and pieces. And we'll talk about that at the end. You know, it would be really cool, brass logo on the top with your name, similar to the CA66. So the J-01 logo on my board, on this particular one that we saw on the top of the case, and we'll have a look at again in a little bit. I'm going to infill that with brass paint, basically. I've got some really nice clear acrylic paint that I can put brass, like a brass powder in to turn it to a brass colour. So it should be almost identical to this when it's done. But yes, I'm going to do that. We've also got Burik in the chat. Good evening, good sir. Nice to see you. Need to order some gaskets. Yeah, go and get that done. Any ANSI available? Yes, ANSI or ISO there will be. So yeah, that's there, or it will be in any finalised group buy. Is it ISO fixed layout? For me, yes, for this one it is. It's completely fixed on this particular plate, which we'll look at in a second, apart from stepped on and stepped caps, so I can change that depending on the keycaps that I'm using. The build I have been waiting for a while. God damn, I'm excited. Yeah, me too. I am me, you are you says, I don't have any reason to believe you'll offer me a spot, but if you, I'll build it with an ISO into just for you. So if anyone is interested, just PM me. I haven't got any really numbers in mind for it. I want to do 10 at most. There's a couple of people who are definitely getting one because they've helped with the board and they've expressed interest. So Geo, for example, is one of those, but the rest of the slots are free and open, and we might extend it to 15 if we have to. But as I say, it will be a prototype round 2. It won't be anything other than that. It will just be a second round prototype. There'll be no traditional group buy or anything like that, so there'll all be the trappings of knowing you're ordering a prototype board, which is why I don't want to do it until I've actually built this. But yeah, just ping me on Discord if you want to be considered for it, and that's fine. It's likely to be it's go on Top Clack, and it's Jay. I'm one of the co-hosts, so you can grab me right at the very top on the Top Clack. So yeah. Demo Balderes says, what's that ISO Alps pink board? Doesn't like a Borsdorf. It's not, but it is my Borsdorf build, or it will be. So the switches that are in here are Brown Alps, and this was kind of an early prototype for the PCB that's going in the Borsdorf. So yeah, so it's Brown Alps and pink, with UK AEK keycaps from an Apple extended keyboard. The keycaps do need retrobrighting a little bit, but this is the layout that will be going on the Borsdorf. And some of you might have seen that being teased on Salvan's Instagram actually, quite recently. So hopefully I'll get my Borsdorf soon. I'm going for it in completely blank metal, or maybe anodized space grey colour, I'm not sure yet. But if that isn't what I want, I'm going to strip it and I'm going to do it pink because I'm really happy with this board. So there we go. Yeah, you say that, James, in before flooded. I think I've just got 4 or 5 PMs, I think, looking at the side of my screen. I can see 4 or 5 PMs come in, but we'll come back to that. Okay, so let's carry on with looking at the board. So the next piece I want to show you is the middle insert. I have to be careful lifting this out to not disturb everything. So this is the brass insert. As you can see, it's got this lovely thick head at the top, this forehead, which does form part of the board, and you can see it's got some mount points drilled out to be able to accept it into the style of the board as well, in terms of how it all fits together. The idea for this particular piece is I want it to patinate, I want it to be covered in patina, so I've been handling it, and that's why you can see it's starting to get this kind of odd coloured colour all down here. And JKS92, thank you very much for the sub, man. I really appreciate it. I do really appreciate that. So that's the plan for this. In terms of the 10 spot, I intend to have the option of either brass like this, which is sandblasted, or copper, which will be sandblasted, and then people can make a choice between one or the other or both. But it will be designed to patinate. That is how I'm doing it. If you want to clear coat it yourselves, that's entirely up to you, but it will come completely sandblasted and untreated. Turning it over, you can see a couple of things a little bit more interesting on this side. So you can see where we've got the magnet inserts for the header rail. So you can see this kind of just sit. Oops, that was clever. There you go. You can see the magnets working there. So this kind of just sits across here like that, and then that shows through the top of the board. So as you can hear it, it's very clangy. Let's put that to the side actually. So the magnets just sit in there, they're pressure fit, they don't fall out, they are pressure fit into it. And then you can see we've got this lip that runs all the way around the inside. Now that's for the gaskets themselves, that's what keeps the PCB elevated, and it's also what keeps the plate and the PCB elevated and separated from the case, so it doesn't touch them in any way, shape or form. That's a few millimeters deep, because we've got 3 different layers of gaskets, which we'll come on to next. So in terms of the actual gaskets for this board, I'm not sure if this is going to pull out or not, because it is quite tight. Just give me a second, guys. With them being rubber, they do fit quite tight. Oops. There we go. There we go. So in terms of this, we've got a 3-layer gasket. So we've got a base layer. This goes underneath the plate, so the plate rests on this layer of gasket all around the edge. Now this did have an insert, and the original idea for this was for it to actually cover the keycaps, as you can see, and go all through the inside. Decided that was a bad idea, so I cut this out. Again, this is literally designed to just be a single layout board, but I didn't want to influence the sound too much. My dog's running around the room, so I do apologise for that. So the gasket does run underneath, and then as we flip it over, the PCB rests on that gasket layer. Now the PCB is 1.5mm thick, which means that if we didn't have another layer of gasket around here, it would be separated and there wouldn't be quite the pressure on the edges needed. So there is another layer of gasket that's on top. I'm contemplating on the best way to attach these. At the minute I've just used a really simple spray adhesive that you'd use for paper and card and stuff like that, but there might be some options later on to change that, or to look at something better to get it to stick. And then the third layer of the gasket is stuck to the top case, again just using spray on adhesive so it's easy to pull off if we need to, and that does sit in a recessed groove on the top. So as you can see just from this angle, it is nice and flush with the case because it's inside a recessed groove. So the idea here is that because of the way the gaskets are, if I lay this on top of the board, it's upside down I know, but if I lay this on top of the board and then I screw it all together, there's no point at which the plate touches the case. So therefore any sound is produced purely by the plate, purely by the keycaps, purely by the switches, and purely through the PCB. It's not designed to add flex, it's literally designed to be a sound insulator and to make sure that any sound that develops is completely pure and is related only to the components you put in the case, not the case itself. So that's kind of the philosophy behind it. Now I want to try and build it in 2 different ways. First way is I want to build it with a carbon fibre plate and see how that influences the sound, because carbon fibre does have quite a distinct sound. And then the second way I want to build it is with a brass plate, which I do have and will build in a couple of days' time. The reason why I want to do 2 different plate types is, one, to see how it affects sound. Bearing in mind people have different sound preferences, so I want to try and do that and see what the difference in sound is and how that works with the board, with it being completely isolated from the case. The second thing is in terms of flexibility. Now this type of gasket isn't, there's 2 schools of thought on gaskets. One is to completely influence your sound by isolating everything from the case, which is this kind of design. The second option is to look at to look at flexibility. And flexibility is usually done by having an O-ring compressed in the bottom of the case. So the E6.5, the GSKT, the old OTD boards, they all use that type of gasket, and that's designed to produce flexibility in the board, not to necessarily change the sound. So those are the kind of 2 schools of thought at a really high simplified level on gaskets. This one isn't to look at any flexibility or anything like that, it's literally based on sound, because I prefer a firmer board, which is why we've got the thick gaskets all the way around. So effectively we've got 4.5mm of gaskets just holding this all together. Which is compressed into a 4mm space, so there's 0.5 mm of compression across all 3 gaskets, so 1.3 recurring millimeters of gasket pressure. In terms of the rest of the idea, so the other point as well is that a lot of people said, is carbon fibre more flexible than aluminium or brass or anything like that? For me, broadly, carbon fibre is actually stiffer in terms of flexibility than aluminium. So I don't think that having carbon fibre makes your board more flexible necessarily. I think it's a really nice sounding material, and that's why I've chosen it. But I do want to compare it to the brass and see how that feels. On a board this length with so few supports where the gaskets are, I think that it'll be broadly the same in terms of flexibility as an alu plate would be, and the brass will be slightly stiffer. So there we go. So that's that, guys. That just sits in there, and as you can see, that will just slot in nicely where he stays. There we go. Just need to make sure we took it all in correctly. There we go. And then, as I say, this goes on top and compresses it. And then just looking at the rest of the case, so as you can see, we've got some standoff points here. These are literally, nothing touches these apart from the case. These 2 here and these 2 here are going to go in the next design. I'm going to get rid of them completely. They're unwarranted, 6 screws. These are M3 bolts. These are way strong enough to hold this all together. So yeah, we're not going to have those in the board anymore. And that's it. That's kind of all of the pieces of the board together. And they make up the J-01. So I'm going to pause there for a second because I'm out of breath for talking for so long. I'm going to try and catch up with the chat because I think that there is a ton of stuff that I've missed. So let's go back to what I do remember. Jake here subscribing with Twitch Prime. Thank you very much for that, dude. We've also got Jan's in the chat. Hey, good afternoon, good sir. Hope that everything's going okay with GMK Minimal. We've got Yanko as well. Hola, good to see you. Gasket looks interesting. Oh, that's the gasket. I'd love polished copper. Might just have to hand polish mine if I get a spot. Yeah, you could do that if you wanted to, yeah. Jan has 2 Twitch accounts, but here's 200 bits. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that, dude. That is nuts. It's so big. Gaskets on gaskets on gaskets. Yeah, because of the way I wanted to implement the gasket and the way that Tez helped me design it, you can't get a single piece gasket for this. It has to be done in layers. And that's why I want to make sure that we can attach them together smoothly and properly. Now, when I do ship the round 2 of these, I will make sure that everything is already pre-glued and everything else. You won't need to do any of that yourselves. So there we go. I got a sub on here. Oh, yes, you have. Oh, Jeng, that is on 2 accounts. He's swapping between them. That Tez logo is okay. Yeah, Tez asked if I'd keep it on the plate, and I said yes, and on the PCB as well. Tez has been a real help, but if you'll notice where it is, ta-da! Gaskets are hot right now. As I said, there's different thoughts on the way to use gaskets. There's very few boards that do it with this kind of methodology in mind. Most are based on making boards flexible and having flexibility within the board. This is very much not that type of board, and it's not designed in that kind of way. Hopefully this gasket section comes with brass plate. Yes, I have got a brass plate. If you guys want to see it, I'll show it off later on. And in fact, if you go on my Instagram, you can actually check that out, because I think I've put a picture up on Instagram, so yeah. Corbin Dallas says, that's unique, seems most gasket boards are trying to soften the type feel. Yes, and this won't, being quite frank. There'll be a tiny bit of softness on it, but in terms of the rest of it, there won't be any. It'll feel very much like a sandwich mount board, just a tiny bit softer than a sandwich mount board, and that's kind of the feel that I like. This is purely designed to enhance sound, which the proof will be in the pudding. We'll find out when I type on it later on. Albrew says, Top Clack thoughts on GMK Metropolis. I love that set. I've actually had a chat with Neflock about it, and I'm really excited for it. So yes. Gasket mount is cool. Tried isolation mount, it's nice. O-ring mount, I'm trying it with BMB87. Yeah, if you want flexibility, go with O-ring. I don't think anyone's tried isolation to this extent. The only other isolation board that I've actually had the pleasure of building was the Key Cult #1, and that was a very different proposition, but their implementation worked really well. This is completely different, and it's a bit of a brainchild, if I'm honest. Yeah, this may not work. If this doesn't work, the 10-spot group buy is out, and I'll go back to the drawing board and I'll try something else. It's just one of those things. Let's see what else we're talking about, guys. Did you have to calculate the compression force on the gasket? No, it just needed to be solid enough to hold it in place and to not move. Because it's not a gasket that's going to try and use flexibility, there's no need to use compression forces or tests or anything like that. It just needs to have enough compression to hold everything in place, and 0.5 millimeter compression across the 3 gaskets is fine for that. How well does a pen rest work? Really well. I'll need to put it all back together to show you, but it works really, really well. Better than the one on the CA66 did. Dixie Meg, what's a gasket? Yeah, okay, so Dixie's pointing out something that I absolutely agree here. So the other side to this is what the community call a gasket. It's not really a gasket. The idea of a gasket is it creates a seal. This is like what you'd see in cars for a head gasket, for example. That might be a term a lot of you know. It's designed to seal 2 parts of the engine together. The way any gasket is implemented on a board, it's not really a gasket, and I think where the terminology came from is the original O-rings did have a use as a gasket in another application, and they were sold as gaskets, and then people put them in boards, and they became known as gasket mount. So I do agree with Dixie Mick on this. I don't actually want to call this gasket as such. I want to call it isolation mount, because that's absolutely what it is. Yeah, so that's my kind of view on it. what is the magnetic rail used for? It's a pen rail. It's just literally to hold a pen. So when the rail is in this slot, I can rest the pen up at the top and it won't roll down my keyboard because I use a pen a lot. So there we go. Where he puts his big dick energy. Yep, that's absolutely it, West Foxtrot. Thank you for joining. You're watching a stream, man. I've not seen you on stream for ages. Thank you, dude. And also we'll be looking at one of Max's cables later on. When I remember where I've put the parts for it. It's somewhere around here. So this is one of the cables we'll be using. So I have got a cable with interchangeable parts on it. Some use USB-C and some another part for USB Mini, which is powering this keyboard here, but we're actually going to change it over later, Max, and use this on the J-01. So we'll come back to that right at the very end of the stream. Jan says, what kind of material hardness did you use for the gasket? It's nitrile rubber, and I'll get the exact specification for you later on. I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head. What Instagram, Jay? My Instagram, which is just J_Keebs, J_Keebs with an underscore in the middle. You can get there quite easily. Do you like the feel of linear switches on a PC plate? Yes, I do, very much so. I think that flexible plates lend themselves better to linears than any other type of switch. XPOP, is Jay going to build this thing today or just admire it? Sorry, I will build it, yeah, I do apologise. I was just talking everyone through it, so there you go. Good bot's doing lots of things. Nebula says he's late. Nah, you're not late, we haven't started the build yet. Okay. Just call it sandwich. Yeah, I could do. Everything is sandwich. Yeah, make me a sandwich. Yeah, go on, Max, make me a sandwich. Sandwich rubber, sandwich gasket, isolation mount is very fitting for this method. It is isolation mount. That's the best way I can think of describing it. But I'd want to steer clear of calling it gasket, really, if I can do. This isn't an Alps plate. It's an MX plate only. It's not an Alps plate at all. Oh my god, the latest was that proto works 100% now. Well done, man. Well done. Haven't cheese, man. Do you know what, Max? I might actually call it that for the meme. Or Coronation Chicken Mount or something like that. Yeah, that'd be really funny. I like that. Okay, so let's carry on with the build. So I'm going to put some of these parts to one side for now because the only parts we really need are the plate and the PCB. I am drastically running out of space here. 2 meter long desk, and I can't even put everything together. So, here we go. There we go. And we've also got Querdenker in the chat as well. I've just noticed you. There you go, dude. Well, welcome to the stream. So as I say, we are going to build this. So this is the carbon fibre plate that came from Max, West Foxtrot, so thank you very much for that, Max. The J-01 PCB, and all of the isolation mount goodiness. So the first thing we're going to do is put the switches into the plate and the PCB, and this is going to be a really fiddly build, so I do apologise for that in advance. Then once we've got all the switches in place, we'll then start to solder it, and we'll see how it goes from there. So I'm just going to put the switches in the plate first and see how they click into the PCB, because we're going to come back and do the stabilizer shortly. So I'm just going to see how well these fit, because if they'll go in relatively easy, then it will be something that I can do afterwards. I'm having trouble lining this up. Being silly. Oh, the switch has a bent pin. That'll be why I can't get it to go in. Let's just try and fix that. 205G0 from switchmod.net in the inks. That's absolutely correct, sir, yes. Okay, let's get this lined up again. Okay, so it does fit nice and firmly in place. I think that this is too tight for me to put all the switches in and then press it into the PCB later on. So what that means is, rather than do it that way, I am going to do it slightly differently. And do the stabilizers first before we put the switches into the plate. So I'm going to crack on with these stabilizers really quickly. We'll just get them in. I'm not going to talk you guys through the method because I do that every week and you're all bored of hearing it. So we'll just quickly clip and lube these. If anyone really is interested in what I'm doing here, I will talk you through it. But you hear me do this every week now, guys. Okay, now these are GMK screw-in stabilizers, which we are always trying to use, from Fax, who may or may not be watching. I suspect he's not because he's on holiday at the moment. Okay. So we don't have many stabilizers on this one. We just have the 3. So we've got backspace, the enter key, and the spacebar. Every other key on this board is split in terms of its options. And we are using the gold wires as well, just to fit the brass theme. Okay. I do apologise if you guys can hear the storm in the background. We've got a storm raging outside and we live on a hill, so there we go. Okay, final stabiliser now. This is for the space bar, and then we'll quickly lube these afterwards. Ruining the PCB already, isn't he? No, I'm not ruining the PCB. Don't worry, dude. I've got this. I just wanted to see how easily it would clip the switches in. I hadn't done much more than a test fitting, but they are quite stiff, which is good. That's not a bad thing, which means that I'm just going to put the stabilisers in first rather than put the switches in the plate. Okay, so that's all 3 of our stabilisers put together. Or it would be in a second. Whoops. Okay, so I'm just going to lube these really quickly. No band-aid mod for me, guys. I'm not a fan of that mushy feel. Okay. Paintbrush, as always. I'll just do these really quickly. Try and keep up with chat while that's going on. What a wonderful Nightbot use. Yeah, we finally got it sorted out the other day. Sashimi and I spent a couple of hours testing him and making sure everything was working well. Okay. Band-aid free zone, yes it absolutely is. No band-aid mod here. I'm not a fan of it. I don't like the way it feels, but that's just my personal preference. You know, your mileage may vary. People like different things, and that's perfectly okay. Okay, almost there with this stabilizer now. Do the base on these? No, I missed the bases on this one. Okay. What else are we talking about, guys? Step 1, drown the stabbing lube. Yeah, I don't drown it. There's only a really fine layer. That's why I use a brush, because I find if you put too much on, it doesn't work. But, you know, everyone's got their own methods. Nothing right or wrong about any of them if you're happy with it. Oops. Conscious I'm not doing this on stream actually. Are gold-plated GMK stabs a thing? No, not really. These wires are actually from Sprit, but the stabs themselves are from Fax. It's like you're in the UK or something. I am in the UK, yes. I am in the UK. Unless that was a joke post and I missed the joke. Okay, that's that one done. Let's do the final one. V2 private thing. Yeah, there's no ICs or anything like that. It's just all being done for me, really. The only reason I'm going to do the 10 Sport Proto round is because people keep asking me for it. So otherwise, the only thing I'd do is I'd just do another one just for me, and then that would be it. We've got Bled in as well. Good evening, good sir. And we've got Glue as well. Hey man, Glue, yes. Glue also does mention a good point. Yes, if you want to buy Zeal PC stabs, you can get gold wires that way as well. But these come directly from Sprit. I'm just using them for the look. Okay. Okay, that's all of those now lubed up. So we're going to implement these into the PCB. We've got one for the ISO enter, which sits just here. And then we've got some little hex screws, which we're going to use to pop these in. Let me just find the right hex bit. There we go. So we're just going to pop these in to here. What would be if my fat fingers would get out of the way. The Apocalypse says, are those screen stabs? Yes, they are. Yes. Alchemist KB, evening Bled. Who is Alchemist KB? That's not a name I recognise. Okay, so I'm not able to tighten that up by hand quite tight enough. I'm just going to switch that over. And then, oops. There we go. That's in one side. We're now just going to quickly screw in the other side. Okay, that's that one done. And then we're going to move quickly on to the backspace. Nicely clicked in. Okay, that's that one in place. One more screw here. As I say, no worries about where I'm putting the stabilizers here. Martin has done a fantastic job on routing this PCB, so there's no crossover points or anything like that. And then we're going to pop the spacebar in here as well. Oops. What we will do, if I can get it lined up nicely. There we go. And then we'll quickly screw these in, and then we'll carry on with the rest of the build. What else are we talking about? Alchemist subscribed with Twitch Prime, thank you very much. And Corbin Dallas subscribed with Twitch Prime as well. Thank you very much, guys. I feel like I might have missed something earlier on in terms of announcements. Let me just scroll back and see if I can see anything. Nope, okay, I didn't miss anything. So thank you very much. Oh, Satanicist. Oh, right, okay, now I know who you are. We also got the Dark Destroyer as well. Good evening, sir. I love your username. It will be by Zeal, the group buy. No, the group buy won't be by Zeal. It'll just be through me, and it won't be a real group buy. It's more of a prototype round, round 2, just making sure that the board works fully as intended. Okay, so that's all of the stabilizers put in place. Everything is nice and lubed and working freely. We're going to overlay the plate over the top of that, making sure everything fits nicely. There we go. And then we're going to start popping some switches in place. And I'm just going to make sure we really push these in. The PCB slots are really firm on this. I'm just going to put a few in each corner just to make sure we've got everything all nice and neatly aligned. Okay. Okay, there we go. Pop some over at the other side. Make sure we've got the plate and the PCB all separated the right distance across the length of the board this way, and then we'll put some in the middle, and then we'll work our way out as well. This is standard switch spacing, no 19mm instead of 19.05 or anything like that here. We're just going with standard switch spacing all across the board. These are really tight to push in, so I'm just making sure they're all in properly. Okay, a couple in the middle. Just trying to make sure that these are flush and fully pushed through. There we go. Put another one just here. There we go. Okay, so as you can see, this is kind of how the board's going to look. It's going to be fully across there. And Corbin Dallas has gifted a tier 1 sub to Dark Destroyer. Thank you very much, dude. I really appreciate that, man. I really appreciate that. Just get GMK stabs from Fax, like $15 ship. Yes, that would be my recommendation as well. Really nice. It's not a personal choice if triple the price is worth it, though. That's true. I mean, the difference between Zeal stabs and GMK stabs is almost irrelevant. In my view, it's more aesthetics than it is for usefulness. So people are going to choose what they're going to choose. Fax is Stab Daddy. Yes, Fax provides me a lot of my stabilizers. So there we go. Did I clip the inks? No clipping of the inks. That's probably why I'm having some difficulty pushing them in. They are really tight fitting Gateron switches of these inks. So just be aware of that if you do ever buy them and use them. Okay, all fitting nice and neatly now. Easier to press in the more we get in the board. The more we push in, the more the plate supports the PCB and keeps the switches just at the right height. So we're going to just try and go row by row now, making sure that everything is pushed nice and neatly in place. Really tight in some places is this. Lots of talk about Zeal stabs versus EPBT. Yeah, it's a conscious choice that you need to make on that one, guys. The Gateron EPBT stabs were made using Zeal's molds that he has mentioned personally that he's paid for. So it's kind of a personal choice on that one, whether you want to support that kind of behaviour or not within the community. I'm going to steer clear of any politics on that one personally. Okay, some of these switches are really tight to press in. It's just taking a little bit of pressure. Rip my thumbs. Making some good progress now though, and that's what this is all about, making good progress as with anything in life. Okay, bent pin there to make sure they're all nice and straight before we carry on pushing them in. Okay. The difference between Zeal stabs and cherry stabs really is the fact of the colour and the material, and the fact that they don't need clipping. They don't have the legs that require clipping on cherry stabs. So those are the major differences between the two. Making as much progress as I can. Okay, play nice, guys. Play nice in chat, please. Yeah, so Zeal had his own molds, or so he says. Zeal tells everyone he's got his own molds for the stabilizers. So with that in mind, you have to wonder if, given the way that the EPBT ones are, if his molds were used for them. I would very much believe that the same molds used for both. But either way, it's not worth arguing over, guys. Either you pick and choose your own battles, and you know, they choose to support stuff like this, or you choose to buy whatever product's best for you. And there's no right or wrong answer there. Both answers, or both options, you know, are right for different people for different reasons. So that's one of those things. Tyler Durden said, glad to see carbon fibre and inks won out. Yes, they did, significantly won out as well. It wasn't a close run thing in the end. It was a significant difference. As you can see, we're building this solely in ISO format. And then we are going to have to do some quick touch up on these gaskets afterwards, because pushing these switches in is significantly more work than I was expecting. Okay, they went in okay. There we go. To be honest, who cares? Just watch this beauty. Yeah, calm it down, guys. Stabs are all stabs at the end of the day. You pay your money, you make your choice. Everyone's entitled to their own choice. No choice is right or wrong. Although different people have different feelings about different things every day. So I wouldn't worry about it, guys. Yeah, these are really tight. If I build with the inks again, I will probably clip them. These are, I'm getting sore thumbs from, you can see the imprint on my thumb here of the crosses from me pushing them down. This is where I need a keycap that's been on a box switch that I can push on and off really easily. Okay, let's just check that these are going in correctly. Okay, they're all good. Probably about a third of the way there now with these switches, guys. What I'm going to try and do is just put 3 at a time in and press them from the far side as well, see if that's any easier. Osa Return says, I gave up pushing them in 60%, haha, so I clipped them. Tune for my thumbs. Oh, thanks, man. Rama stabs. Yeah, so Rama stabs are coming. Rama stabs are a thing. And they're a complete, you know, overhaul in terms of design of stabilizers, as far as I can tell from looking at some of the pictures I've seen. So I'm really excited to see what they bring to the table. Emma says, oh sorry, Bledin says, unless that choice is ISO. Nothing wrong with ISO, man. Yakbat says, at Top Clack, if you have a keyboss switch opener, you can use it upside down to push the switches in. I don't, but that's actually a good idea. I do have something else that I can use for it. I can just put some pressure on with the lid of this tool. Perfect. Yeah, we'll just use the lid of this. That's a really good idea, using something to pressure the switches in place. There we go. Okay. Koenig says this gives me PTSD from my tangerines and singlet. Yeah, it's a very similar experience. This is helping significantly. Triggered slightly there, Jay. Always triggered, yeah. Get ready to remortgage your house for RAM stabs. I don't think they'll be so bad. Looking at a lot of RAM products, 40 producers, it's kind of fairly priced. Relief cuts for flex and sound. For sound mainly on this, with the design of the plate and the style of the mounting system, there'll be very little difference in terms of the actual feel. It's going to feel like any sandwich mount board does. Okay, they're all in nicely. Making good progress now, folks. Okay, I apologise for the sounds of the storm in the background. You guys can probably hear that really loudly, but sadly I can't make it any quieter. Maybe that's what the image on the mashed up nutcracker was for. Damn, Jay has iron fingers. Yeah, my fingers are hurting a little bit. Any news on the Rama stabs? Not as yet. We're expecting something soon from them, though, I think. Hopefully later on this year. I'll reach out to Kate and Rama and ask them. Did you try for a spot in the E6.5? Yes, I did. And as far as I know, I've got in for one. I went for fully polycarbonate. Lex says, is that the Borsdorf? No, it's not, but it's my first test of the Borsdorf. So if Max is still watching, Max designed the Cyclops PCB, for those that don't know. This was my first implementation of the Cyclops PCB into a board with Brown Alps. Nebulent says, did the E6.5 invoices go out? I haven't had one as yet, unless it's come whilst I've been streaming. I didn't order 3, no, I ordered 1. Okay. Let's just make sure all of these are coming through the PCB nicely. Yep, yep. All looking good there, all flush and even so far. Let's get this final third of the board done now. What else are we talking about? Didn't send my LO after. Oh, making a joke. Oh, right, okay. Yeah, I think someone did order 3. I'm sure I saw an order for 3 in there. Or the same username a few times. Invoices tomorrow, edits are possible until then. Yeah, I need to make a slight edit actually. I need them, well, I say an edit, I need to send him the font for my text. Okay, almost there, folks. Not too much longer to go, then we can start soldering and get this bad boy fully built and tested. Soldering shouldn't take too long, should be a 15-minute job for this board, so we should be alright. Because I've got work in the morning and it's probably 9:30 now. Too many good choices with the E6.5. Yeah, there's so many good combinations with it. I'm slightly interested to see how the gasket will be on that particular board, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. That's cool. He's allowing an edit period. Soldering took me a little bit longer. Yeah, so Martin actually hand soldered all of these boards from the manufacturer, but it took him a little bit longer than 15 minutes or so. I think it took him about a week, but he did a great job, and I genuinely thank Martin from the bottom of my heart on that. He is my PCB and plate god and guru. OG Swanklord says, I saw the picture of the J-01 for the first time on Insta today. Oh, I'm glad you saw it, dude. Yeah, it was a while back when I posted that picture up, actually. Can I test them with SA? I can do, but not today. If I do a sound test, I'll do it with SA on as well, but not today because I've got a GMK set lined up for this particular board. But if you PM me, JKS, I will make sure that I do that sound test for you. Okay, we're going to go with stepped caps lock here. So I went in nice and easily. There we go. Okay, now we've got almost to the end. These switches are going in a lot easier. Okay, nearly there, guys, nearly there. And then we'll finish off the build. Quirdenk says, at Clack, did you hear anything from the Dora 67 shipping? No, not at the minute. Nope. Nope. Swanklord as well says, you open up the Twitch and what do you know, he's streaming it today. Lucky, man. Lucky, and odds are in your favour. Okay. So I find out that I've prepared a one switch too little. No, we've got exactly the right amount. We're good. Okay, 2 more switches and then we are all done. We'll just check the PCB from the other side once we've got this one in place. Make sure everything is pushed in to the level it should be. Okay, looking good. To make sure we've got no bent pins. Okay, we look pretty good from that perspective. There we go, so we are now ready to solder. I would show you guys that it's all nice and even on the edges, but you can barely see. But all of the switches are plumbed in nice and neatly and tidily. There's nothing leaning away from the PCB at any point. So there we go. Move that out of the way as well. Okay, so just going back to the chat, let's catch up before I do the next bit. Nibbit says he ordered an E6.5 in poly with blue plate, should be looking icy fresh. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You want me to disassemble the whole board for a sound test? I'll just change the keycaps, man, it's dead easy. Where is this all programmed? This is a QMK programmable board, so it's all programmed in QMK. And Corbin Dallas gifted a tier 1 sub to Martin as well. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Talisman Solutions, our #1 bits donator, says, you know your internet connection has gone completely pear-shaped when you cannot maintain audio at the lowest possible setting. Thank goodness for VODs. Oh, well, just the fact you're here, man, makes it all the better for me. Dora 67 versus Kira is 50-50 right now in Mech Madness voting. That's interesting. I'm interested in that. We'll see how that goes. Lex says, hi Jay, by the way. Hey man, good to see you, dude. Good to see you. Okay. How long does the battery last on your soldering iron? My soldering iron isn't battery powered. It's mains powered. The cord's just here. So we are going to be soldering now. So let's move some of these tools out of the way. Ones that we don't need anymore. Get the solder ready. And flip the PCB over. Okay. Too much time to change the caps, at least for me. No, I want to see what it sounds like as well. It's definitely going to be interesting to see what it sounds like. TS100, yeah, yeah. Sashimi, you need to slow down that that Nightbot. It's posting every 5 minutes, man. Let's slow that down. Okay. So what I'm going to do first of all is just tag a couple of switches in the middle. This is a really, really nice and firm PCB in terms of the switches holding in, so I don't think anything's going to move around too much whilst I'm soldering. But it's always good to just have a couple of pivot points in the middle and then the 4 corners as well. That just holds everything nice and neatly to begin with. So we're just going to do that really quickly, and then we'll go row by row through the rest of the PCB. Just come down here, do this one. And then over here. There we go. It's set to 15 right now. Yeah, let's do 30 minutes, Sashimi. Yeah, 30 minutes. If we have them both pinging every half an hour, 4 times in a 2-hour show, that seems about right. It was long enough that you didn't notice. That's fair enough. That's fair enough. Maybe it's just me that's noticing it. Is a plate attached to the top or bottom? No, the plate's not attached to anything. That's the whole point of it. It's completely free floating on rubber, nitrile rubber gaskets, effectively. And I hate the word gaskets. They're just they're not gaskets. They're the isolation separating the partners, or as Max said, they're ham and cheese sandwiches. Think of them as ham slices in a sandwich. Pressed real gasket. Well, it's not a gasket as such, but it's probably the closest implementation to how you'd have a gasket in any other technical solution, such as a car engine or something. Yes, but it's still not really a gasket because it's not sealing anything, and that's one of the key criteria of a gasket in terms of my personal definition of them. But I can see why the community has banded onto that kind of terminology. But I think this is very much an isolation mount board, and that's the way I see it in my head. And that's the terminology I use for it as well. I'm just going to quickly start to solder all the way across this top row. Once we've done this, I'll have a pause, see what you guys are talking about in chat, and then we'll come back to the soldering, and we'll keep going. It shouldn't take us too long. Probably about 10 seconds a switch, something like that. Okay. As I say, these the nitrile rubber is all held together with spray adhesive at the minute, but I will find a better solution, probably using sticky back tape to keep the 3 layers together. Which is how a lot of gaskets are applied to boards in other solutions that we've seen. So for example, in the Keycult #1, the 60 version, their gaskets are all attached using sticky back plastic, sorry, not sticky back tape, or double-sided tape. Just going to solder this macro column here really quickly, then we'll clean the soldering iron and carry on from there. There we go. Dixie says I call them bumpers. Insulators, yeah, both kind of work. I think the way you've done them, Dixie, or how I suspect you've done them, because you haven't actually showed me yet, is you probably have done them as bumpers. You've probably gone down the Keycult #1 type route, whereas this is full-fledged and across the 2 support beams. So for mine, insulators is probably closer, but isolators might be better. Isolators. Nitrile rubber isolators. That's what I'm going to go with. It's actually what gaskets should have been when compressed. Yeah, so these are compressed. So the 1.5mm thick, there's 3 layers, and those are compressed by just over half a millimeter. I think it's 5.7 or 0.57mm of compression across the 3 layers. So there's plenty of compression there. Sashimi doing God's work. I think it might seem faster for you since you're reading a chunk of chat every few minutes rather than constantly. Maybe that's right. You might be right, mate. You might be right. Okay, let's carry on with the soldering. I'm going to try and get this row done quite quickly, and then keep moving down the board. I am really excited to see how this sounds once it's done, guys. The problem is I probably don't have a good enough control board to hand see how anything else would sound. Although I am tempted to add the option or the ability to top mount this board as well, for those that don't want to use the nitrile rubber isolators. I think thinking about Dixie, the problem I have with rubber, with bumpers, is it sounds too close to bump-ons, and I know people have tried it with bump-ons in the case, and I'm not sure that that's the right type of materials to use in my head. Although I'm happy to be proven wrong if anyone's tried that and it does work well. Okay, I'm just gonna. That's the ISO enter we've just done there. I'm just going to drop down and do the 4 arrow keys. Okay. Happy with that joint. Let's just add a touch more solder. There we go. Okay, just 3 layers left to do now, guys. So this is where we move on to the stepped caps lock. And then we're going to do all through that caps lock row, and then we'll do the last 2 rows in parallel, and then we should be done. In terms of programming this board, I'm probably going to do that offline, guys, because I'm just conscious that I spoke for about an hour at the beginning of this stream, so we're probably well behind my usual 2-hour build stream schedule. But we'll see how we get on. If we've got time, we'll do that on stream as well. Okay. Okay, let's see what's going on in chat. And Quodenka, thank you very much for the subscription, man. I really appreciate that, dude. You know how much I love you. I'm hyped. A lot of nice sets coming out. There is so much coming out right now. So much coming out right now. It's really difficult to keep up with everything. But do try watch our weekly show. Every Thursday, 6 PM PST. Brian and I do a news roundup show. So do try and keep track of that. Read the Top Cat blog, it helps. Yes, we have a lot of our news items on there. Why Twitch doesn't allow Prime subscriptions via the app is beyond me. I have no idea, that sounds bizarre. I didn't know they didn't, to be honest with you. Yeah, so let's carry on with this board then. So we're just going to solder the last 2 rows in parallel. So I'll just drop down to the spacebar row every time I've got a key that needs soldering down there. And then we should get these 2 rows done fairly quickly. Okay. Once we've done this, we can then start to put the board together. Make sure everything aligns and fits correctly. In terms of the test fit build I did yesterday, it worked extremely well. I'm hoping that translates to making it easy for me to build it on stream for you guys shortly. Okay. Almost finished soldering now, guys. Just a few more switches left to go, and then we can take a look at it. Okay. Okay, last couple of switches to do on the spacebar row, and then we are done. The last one now. And there we go, guys. That is the board fully soldered. Jen says a modern Dolch soon. Yeah, I'm waiting for my set of that. I'm looking forward to receiving that. So hopefully it won't be too far out. I'm just going to rest that over there like so. Okay. There we go, that's soldered out of the way. So that's all of that put together. What we're going to do now is put the board together. Everything feels like it's working as it should be there. No issues with any of the switches. I'm not sure if I've missed anything in chat, but I hope everything was doing okay. Right, let's get the board back and start putting this puppy together. Okay. So here we go, guys. You'll see that everything does neatly press fit together. You can kind of see here, this is how the gaskets kind of work. They kind of sit on top of the original gasket. So I've got 3 layers of gasket or rubber isolation mount supports all the way around. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pop the middle layer on. And this is what's going to hold that all together and down. Or so believes. There we go. That's all in place there. We're then just going to quickly connect up this cable. And this gives us the USB port power. We'll do if we could get it aligned. There we go. And then we are going to put the base on. Just carefully tucking the cable on the inside out of the way there, guys. Okay, so that doesn't feel like it's quite right. Oh, I've got it upside down. Would help if I had it the right way around. There we go. That's all clicking together nice and neatly there. There we go. That is all in place. Just going to pop 2 screws in to hold it together first and foremost. So we have longer screws for this section here because it goes all the way through the forehead. I'm just going to finger tight that one there, and then I'm going to come down diametrically opposed to the bottom corner. And then I'm just going to line that up nice and neatly from all the angles perspective. Or if I could get it to align, I would do. There we go. Screw that in. Come back, tighten this one up fully. There we go. And then just go around the rest of the board and tighten those together. Always try and make sure we move diametrically opposed to each of the spots. Okay, did we use a short screw there? I think we might have done. Okay. Yeah, that screw was for there. We used the wrong size screw there, guys. Quick remedy that in a minute and get the rest of the board done. Again, the aim isn't to over tight anything here, it's just to get things just right. And as I say, these two here and these two here will be removed from the final version. They won't make it into the final version of the board. Okay. Sashimi says, do I already have the board working with QMK? Yes, I do. Martin's already seen to that. He's already made sure everything is working just fine with QMK. I'm just going to knock this screw out. If we can get it to come out. Okay, it's not going to come out. I'll change it after the stream. I think it's just, yeah, it's just stuck in there, but we'll get that out afterwards and we'll change it off. There we go, guys. That's the board fully screwed together and put together. I'm going to pop the brass bar in, and you can hear that does solidly click into place. You can't pick it up because the board's too heavy with it, but there we go. That's all of the gaskets done. One of the things I am going to do for the gaskets, or the isolation rubbers in nitrile rubber mounts, is I'm going to have them made in black for when we actually do the final versions, because the red does show here and that kind of bothers me slightly, but it works really well. In terms of the actual material as well. And someone has donated 300 bits. Thank you very much for that, dude. Thank you very much. So there we go. That is the board put together. Oof is a wholesome meme now. I'm not sure on that one. By the way, Jay, what colours are you planning for the run? Haven't decided yet. Not a clue yet. Only 2 colours is the options. 2 colours, and we'll do brass and copper options as well for the middle and the side. And I haven't decided what the 2 colours are. Probably dark grey. This is really dark grey, but it's almost black. You might as well call it black. Probably want a dark space grey type colour rather than this particular colour on the final runs. So we'll see. We'll see. Gemma's got timed out for 600 seconds. Stop spanning symbols. Automated by Nightbot. Oh, dude. Oh well, Sashimi's working on the Nightbot anyway, so he'll sort that out. So anyway, that's the board built. What we're going to do now, before we plug it in and test it and everything else, is we're just going to have a go at putting keycaps on and see how it looks, and then we can see how it sounds as well. So in terms of this particular build, we're going to go with the ever-loved GMK Red Samurai, and there's a lot of keys loose in here, so I apologise in advance, guys. But a couple of the trays underneath that are in here are completely and utterly loose, so there are keys everywhere. I'll try and quickly move that off to one side. As I said, lots of stuff loose everywhere. But we'll go ahead and put the escape key on. I'm probably going to use black enter rather than the gold ISO one. That's the short tab, it's not the full size tab. I wondered why that didn't fit right. I don't think I need anything else off that kit. We can come back to it later if we do. And then off of this kit I do need a few ISO keys, so we'll need those. We'll also need that, and we'll need the 2 and the 3. Don't think I'll need any of the other. Oh, I'll need the 1.25U shift as well for the split left shift, and that key as well, just there. We'll come back for the rest if we need any further on those as well. There we go. So I'm just going to open up this kit now, and we'll put the rest of the caps in place. Right, Neo Jonathan says oof. Titan says it looks great. It looks hot with those inks on carbon. Yeah, the inks on carbon fibre look amazing. It was one of the reasons why I offered that as an option when people were voting on it. I'm just going to put F keys on here for now. I will change it for some artisans later on, but we'll just go with F keys for now, just because they look nice. I would like one of the kits for this board to have all the same coloured F keys. That would be really nice. Go 4. There we go. This is the first time it's ever had keycaps on it, guys, so I'm hoping that this all works and all lays out correctly. If it doesn't, I'm going to look very, very silly. And then I'm just going to pop some keycaps over here. I'm sure it has the support I want it to. Yes, it does. Then we should have a code key that just fits in there as well. I'll put the arrow keys on. This set took me a lot of searching, guys, so it's nice to actually be able to use it for the first time on a board of my own. I'll put the ISO enter in, and then we'll just go through all of the rest of the letters now. I'll try and keep up with chat. Jabbers has been unjailed. Thank you very much for that, Sashimi. Thank you for sorting that. You are doing such good work. Such a lovely board, Jay. Thank you, James. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Red Sam says LBI Bass, yes. JK says it was good before ISO. So the actual run will offer ISO or ANSI fixed plates. That's entirely up to the purchaser for the 10 when we do them. No judgment for anyone for any layout that they pick. Yeah, it's still nicer for the gaskets to be black, but as I say, Bledin, these are prototype ones. Oh, sorry, Elmo. Sorry, Elmo. I read the name wrong there. So you won't be able to see them with the caps on, but as I say, I will prefer them when they're black. Either that, or I'll just colour them all in with a Sharpie or something like that. I was just watching my young daughters play whilst listening to this build stream. Had to tell my wife it was a conference call. Nice work, man. Nice work. I appreciate the support there. I do want to use stepped caps lock. That must be in one of these other kits. Nope. Have I missed it? Is it in here? Oh, it's there. There it is. There we go. In my opinion, step caps is the nicer of the two keys. I've tried to get the monitor a little bit more colour accurate for this set in terms of how it is. I think it's a little bit more accurate today than it was when I built the Key Cult #1 a few weeks ago. Okay, then we've got the two ISO keys that just go in here, just like so. And then we're going to come down onto the shift row. Okay, and then finally onto the bottom row. So one of the things that I am conscious of is that this bottom row only supports one option at the moment. It is something I want to change to offer support for two different bottom rows. So at the minute it offers 1.25, 1.25, 1.25, 6.25, 1.25, 1.25. What I want to change that to be is two 1.5s and the 7U spacebar, and effectively have a wing keyless type layout. There we go. There you go. So 1.5 and 1.5 there. Apologies. So there we go, guys. That is GMK Red Samurai on the J-01. So many fingerprints on this board. I do apologise, guys. Let's see if we can clean these off a little bit. In fact, I might get a quick wipe and just give it a quick clean down. There we go, guys. Try and get rid of those fingerprints. Hopefully that'll dry in a second and it won't look too bad. But there we go. This is the J-01. I could do with a dry cloth now. I don't think I have one. Let's just use this t-shirt. There we go. give that a nice wipe down. And there we go, much better. So there we go, guys, the J-01 with all of its brass accoutrements. Again, need to wipe down on the base, but you guys get how it looks. There's the side profile. All nice and neatly machined. And there we go. So as I say, I'm going to put some paint in this logo, very similar to have done on the Alice and a Canoe previously, and some other boards, and just to finish that off nicely as well. Dixie Mac says, looks nice, man, better than I thought it would. LOL. Thanks, man. Thanks, man. But this is my board for me. If other people like it, then I'm absolutely glad that people like it. As I say, Dixie, the rubbers will be red won't be red when I run the group by. They will be black. Just this was all we had in stock for the prototypes. It's just one of those things. Where's that stepped control key? I don't think the set has a stepped control key. I think it's only got a stepped caps lock, which is why that's what I've used. Looking mint with that pen rest. Yes, this is the magnetic pen rest. It does come out. It is all held in place by magnets. You can hear it click in place when I do that. It's handsome, just like Jay. Oh, thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. Keyboard looks good as well. Yeah, looking really good. Love the design and layout. Yeah, it's my kind of preferred layout. Arrow keys and function keys separated. Always useful to have that guider for me. I know where the separation is, and same here. So I know where the separation is when I'm typing. I don't have to look as much. Take a little while to get used to it, but it's just one of those things. Titan says, I love that the logo is subtle. It's really not. It's really not. I am going to change that. It's one of the changes I want to make. It's 0.5 millimeter deep at the minute. I want it to be 0.1 millimeters deep going forward. So yeah, that's the plan. What's the angle? Typing angle is 7 degrees. Querdenker says, absolutely stunning. Thank you. I really appreciate it. How is my typing with the VE going? Slowly, I'll be honest. So I've had a load of stuff going at work. We've had a whole reshuffle, change of jobs. My role's changed significantly. It's meant some massive working hours, around 70 hours a week at the minute. So I just haven't had time with that until Clack to concentrate on my typing. But I am desperate to do it, so I will find the time hopefully later on in the year. Tronic says, nice. Dark Destroyer says, thick. Yes. Jacob says, what's the angle? I said 7 degrees. I think it's 21 millimeters high at the front, and then 7 degree angle. There we go. Have that top cut out for the logo, so the brass just shows through. I could do that, but I'm not sure if that's how I want to play it. There isn't any brass under here. The brass only runs a thin edge around this side. All the thick part of the brass is under this header just up here. To put my designer input out like I tend to do, I would make the logo a little smaller to fit that negative space better. Yeah, we might make it a little bit smaller. It's designed so that it runs flush in line with the two edges, so that's kind of how it sits. We might make it smaller, don't know. I like it as it is. It's just one of those things. But there we go. What colour am I going for that infill? Brass infill, that's what it's going to be. 7 kilograms, just shy of, I think it's just under 7 kilograms fully built, so it's really hefty. I mean, you can hear the thud when I drop it. It's really hefty. How is the plate mounted? Just tuning in. So proximity, this is typing test already. I'm desperate to hear what it sounds like, but I'm nervous as well. So Jan, so I will do it. So it's an isolation mount board. Yeah. Jay's going to need a vacation. I go on vacation a week on, well, a week on Monday, a week tomorrow. I go on vacation for 1 week. So for those that you don't know, I haven't announced it on the TC. I will be away for 1 week. I will be back the following week, so I will miss 1 week's show. Not this Thursday coming, but the Thursday after, and then I'll be back. I won't have build streams either side of the holiday because I just won't have time to do it. So I'll have one more build stream next week, and then that will be it until I get back. So yeah, it's one of those. How does brass infill work? I was just thinking of seeing that come up. So in terms of how I'm going to do that, I've got some clear acrylic paint, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some brass powder, which is literally powdered brass, in there. I've tried some other things with copper on the VEA, and I don't really want to try that with brass, so I'm going to do it that way. Either that, or if that doesn't work, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some brass leaf, And what I will do is I will put the brass, the leaf glue. So I don't know if you've ever worked with leaf like gold leaf or anything like that, but you get like an adhesive that you put down and then you layer up the leaf over the top of it. If the acrylic doesn't work, it will just wash out because it's acrylic paint, and that's what acrylic paint does. So what I will do is I will then brass leaf it. So put adhesive in there, put some leaf over the top of it, brush it all away, and it will just go in the gap around the inserts. So that's the secondary option. So we'll see how it goes. Necroman says, "Look sick." Thank you very much. I really appreciate that, dude. Come vacation in NorCal, I will take you to Tahoe Yosemite. So I'm actually going to Budapest. So that's where I'm going. R&R, yeah, I need it. I need it. Okay, so without much further ado, I'm really nervous about this because this is kind of like the culmination of probably 6 months worth of work, but I am going to do a sound test now. So JKOs, if you want to know how I did it with the canoe, you can go watch my Alice tutorial on my old J Keebs channel. I actually did infill on there with it. So this is the J-01 isolation mounted board with an emphasis on the sound type of isolation mount, with GMK Red Samurai 78 gram ink switches looped with 205 grade 0. So there we go, guys. I'm really happy with that. Genuinely really happy with that. Knees weak, arms are heavy. Yeah, I made so many mistakes in what I was typing in my head. It was an angry email to my boss, but don't show that video. Sounds like a keyboard. Yeah, it does. So a couple of things that I've noticed. It mutes the sound. So what we're hearing here isn't anything to do with the case ping or anything like that. Like on a top mount board, a lot of the vibration goes through the plate into the case, and you hear a lot of case ping. So this is removing all of that, and it's a much more natural sound. So what we're hearing is literally just the sound of the switches, the plate, and the keycaps. And there's no sound deadening or anything like that. It's just literally going to be those sounds that we hear. So that's why, and the stabilizer on the stabilized key, but that's why it sounds very different to a lot of other boards. And that's why the keys sound very similar across the range of the board as well, because we're just literally hearing the differences that we're getting there. We're not having anything emphasized by the plate and reverberation through the case. So clear, crisp is how I would describe it, with an emphasis on it being slightly quieter because we're not getting any case ping. I'm really happy with that. That's kind of proven a lot of it. I'll do some better sound tests later on in the week where I can adjust it. And thank you, Talisman, for the 1,111 bits. I do spot that. Thank you very much, dude. Thank the Lord. It sounds good, says Greenwall Designs. Yes, Tez, it does. It sounds epic. Thank you very much for helping me with it. Sounds kind of high pitched but really clean. Yeah, that's probably fair. I think that's more the switches, because we are getting more of a natural sound from the switches here, and they are Gateron inks, which are smoky but clear switch, so effectively they sound like Telios a little bit. So I think that's why we're hearing the high pitch. So there we go. So yeah, I think that's really good. I'm really happy with that. I don't care even about the sound. I came here for the weight. Yeah, that's fine. Gateron switches sound high pitch in general, I guess. Yes, they do. So that's what I was just saying a second ago. It's not quite what I prefer, but I think that's part of the switches. It could be. It could be. They do sound very similar to there. It makes clear sounding switches good for once. Yeah, that's kind of the intention to add that to it. So yeah. I can't see or hear anything other than the chat, but I'm not dead yet. Well, Talisman, thank you, dude. I hope you'll see this later on. Someone slow-mo the video and find out what you type. No, don't, because someone will email my boss. I do like that consistency. It's very consistent, and that was kind of one of the aims of building the board in this way and designing it this way. And it was something that Tez and I really worked hard to get into the design. What else are we talking about? Sounds really good, says Neo Jonathan. Yeah, I'm glad you like it. This hefty boy will sound awesome with Holy Pandas and Brass. That's the next build. Well, not Holy Pandas, but red Holy Pandas and Brass. So that's going to be the next build. I just need some more gaskets for that. Hopefully I'll be able to do that at some point off screen during the week and then do a sound test on the next show or something like that. Yeah, so the Thok with Holy Pandas in this should be unbelievable. It should be really good. Really good. The overhead camera's a slight desync with the microphone. Yes, it does, and that's because it's recording in 4K. So although you're watching this, you'll see if I do this with my hand, it's slightly out of sync, but that's because of the 4K video. It's slightly out of sync. In post-production for the sound test, I will stitch them together properly. Time to test the PCB, isn't it? Yes, there is time to test the PCB. So, without much further ado, let's try that out. So what I do have here, I'm just going to bring this out here. So this is my cable from Max that he did for me. So these connectors just plug and play. So I can swap my mini USB end for my USB-C end. If I can line it up properly, there we go. And then we can just plug that in here. So there we go, so you can hear it's setting up device J-01. Let's move this board completely out of the way. And then what I use this for is, this is for my macro pad. So you can see that we can just go like that. And that will pull through. There we go. So there you go, you can kind of see this is how I have my desk set up on a daily basis. So let's see if I can get up switch hitter. Okay, the S key doesn't work already, so that's one thing I need to go back to. Let's just grab another keyboard to get it working up. So I need to have a look at the S key, but the W key did work. Okay, and let's see if I can now... Sorry about all the pings, guys, I do apologise. Just my monitor's got noise on it. Let me see if I can show that on screen. It should be on screen now for you, actually. Yep, there you go, you can see it. So let's just go through and see if anything does work. I don't know how this is programmed yet, because it's however Martin sent it across. So we've got F1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They all work just fine. We've got escape, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. Oh, 0 doesn't work. I'll go back and have a look at that. Could be my soldering. All of the keys there work. All of that row there works. So we're looking good here, guys. A slight bit of soldering I need to do. Caps lock is working. S key, no. I think this is more my soldering than anything else. Oh, my wife's entering the room. Hello, I'm streaming at the moment, sorry. I won't be long. Bless her, that's my wife. I turned off Windows sounds. Apologies for that. I will do that. So there you go, guys. You can see I've got a problem with the S key and I've got a problem with the 0 key. I'll desolder it later on and have a look. I'll take it apart and have a look. I suspect it's just my my soldering that's just missed out on those. Hi, Mrs. J. Hurry up. Yeah, she's just got out of the shower. I think she wants me to go and do something for her, so I will be doing it. It was about time when I normally finish. I normally try and finish for 10 o'clock my time. So there we go. Everyone's waving at you, Ellie. No, she's gone. She can't hear me. Oh well, thanks guys, I do appreciate it. So there we go. I will have a look at the 0 and the S key offline because as you can tell, I'm wanted. But yeah, always funny, yeah. Well, she was in a towel, so it was a good job she didn't come in because you guys would have had a riot with that. Yeah, in terms of service, yeah, you couldn't quite see her, I don't think, so there we go. That's a very familiar tone from Jay's missus, yeah. Top Clack is always wanted. Oh, thanks very much, guys, I appreciate that. So there we go, guys. This is the board. Let's get rid of switch hitter. So I do need to go back and look at the 0 key and the S key. I think that's just my typing, sorry, my soldering more than anything. But there you go, guys. That is the board. I'm really happy with it. I think the keycaps look great on it. I do want to try and pick up the Red Sam novelties and try and change it around. But as you can see, I've been waiting for this for so long, and it actually sounds like how I wanted it to sound as well. So I'm really happy with it. I hope you guys like it as well. I'm going to take some pictures once I've given the board a bit of a clean. Got loads of thumbprints all over it and stuff like that. So I'll take some pictures. They will be up on Instagram later on the Top Clack account and my account as well. So it's Instagram is just Top Clack for Top Clack, and it's J_Keebs KEBBS for my Instagram account. So do feel free to go follow me. If anyone has got a question, please post it now. If anyone's got any comments or anyone thinks that the board sounds terrible or thinks it sounds great, let me know. If anyone wants to ping me and chat to me about potentially getting one of these, I will be doing a 10-spot group buy. Now I'm really happy with this. I'm actually happy to go ahead with the group buy. I'll be doing a 10-spot group buy probably in around 4 weeks after I've got back off holiday and I've got around to sorting it out. So yeah, there we go. The final board might be a little bit lighter because I think I'm just going to expand on that hole underneath. We've got the square to help sound develop. I think we're going to expand it to an oval shape. So I might have a look at that. I'll work out with Tez what we can do it. So yeah, but as I say, it's just going to be a 10-spot proto round. I think the price it's probably going to be around €400. That's $400. So it's what I'm going to try and keep it to. But as I say, it will be really limited. So it's not really intended to go to group buy. It's literally just going to be done at cost, and it's going to be everyone's going to have to accept that it's a prototype. You know, that's just one of the things that I do want to just show off this cable again. So this is made by the lovely West Foxtrot Max Cable Car Designs. It's an amazing bit of kit. He made that for me you know, a couple of months ago, and I'm really grateful to him. So if you do want some good cables, do check him out because he's a really good guy. Already pinged me, says I am me, you are you. ISO return says, can you show it off better to the cam? Yeah, of course I can. Let me do it this way. So here we go, guys. So this is the board up close. You can see just how deep that pen rail is. It's about 7mm deep, which is broadly the same thickness as the middle weight. You can see this is where the screw didn't go in properly, so I just need to tighten that up. You can probably just see the gap there slightly. So I do need to just extract that screw and put the proper sized one in. The USB port at the bottom is really tight. I'll take some better close-up pics of that later on. In terms of the base, covered in fingerprints, but you kind of get the idea. Just got my logo on there, the J itself. And then just on the front edge as well, there you go, you can see the brass nicely starting to get a patina on it, which is the kind of intention behind it. The other thing I do want to do as well is these bump-ons that I've used are quite steep. I want to change these out. You can see they're massive, and use some flatter bump-ons. So I'm really not happy with those, but I am happy with the rest of the board. That'll reduce the height by about 3mm. You can see there, they're really steep. So I do want to do that as well. Martin says, J seit zum Laufen. I don't actually know what that means, Martin, but if you tell me, I will do. Yeah, if you put that into English or reach me off stream, I will tell you what my Inset is. Unless someone can quickly translate that for me. You could sew butterfly clips up there. You could do, as I say, it's literally designed for my pen. That's what it was designed with that in mind. This literal pen, that's where the specifications and the design came to. Seems like getting cables is pretty iffy. Seems like everyone who does it is at full all the time. That's true, yeah. German krautrock music. Oh, okay. Well, if you send me the link, I'll listen to them later on, and I'll give you my thoughts. Or you could display your sexy artisans on top. I could do, yeah. I've actually got a drawer full of stuff that I've received recently. So I think we've got a couple of ETF caps in here. There's a couple of Kiporas and things like that in here. A couple of polymer salon ones. What else have I got recently? Oh, one of my new Fugthulus. That could go on there. I don't know. We'll work it out. Maybe you're right. It is perfect height, actually. Look at that. Look how nicely they fit on there. They are loose though, so that's something we could look at. So yes, lots and lots of options for the board there. Right, it fell over. The pen thing blowed me away. Yeah, it's just something that I really wanted. Yeah, just something that I like from a personal use case perspective. The two things I use at work most in terms of tools are my iPad and then either a pen or a mechanical pencil. Those three things are the things that I use all the time. So yeah. Okay guys, that's it for the stream. I'm really happy with this, unbelievably so. I'm really happy with the sound. Oh guys, I'm so in love with this already. Expect to see a lot more of this on streams going forwards. Because I think this is going to be my permanent home board. So yeah, thank you very much for that, guys. I'm going to go off stream, go see what the wife wants now, and then I'll come back and I'll fix that 0 and S keys later on. I'm really happy with it. I'm really happy with it. And you know, thank you Teslatron, thank you Martin, thank you to Querdenker and Egler especially, because he helped me design the logo as well. Thank you to Chris Swires for all his input from Gaskets support stuff, and thank you to Max as well, because he helps me out with manufacturers and things like that. So to all of the people that have helped me, thank you very much. I genuinely appreciate it, and I love you all very much. So I'm going to call it a night there, guys. Thank you very much for the for taking the time to come and watch me today. We did quite well with the viewer count. Enjoyed the stream as always. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. VOD will be up, and I'll see you guys on Thursday. See you now.